Because imagine if these countries that are at war with one another, if they saw the illusionary nature of borders and territory and the past, the centuries of conflict, if they had one insight that showed them the illusionary nature of life. I do see bits and pieces shifting in the consciousness of the world and some of the leaders, you know, little bits and pieces, enough to be hopeful. But when I see what happens with all the people, like here, how deep you all have gone, and how you will go back to your countries and your families and take this with you, and how it will extrapolate from there. And also when I see what's happening at Tikkun, because that conference was 550 people, and they go back to their however many countries, 18 or 20 countries that were represented this time. I know that it may look under the radar, but what that is rippling out, that energy, that the true nature of that energy that's rippling out into the world is doing an amazing job. Because it's beyond the word. And under that radar, to operate under the radar, often happens. This organization, this manufacturing organization that I've referred to, a global organization, the CEO never did acknowledge me. It didn't matter. He acknowledged the results in the organization and the fact that they had been failing, and now were showing profits, results. You know, for a CEO, that's pretty profound and practical. And he also, and his team, they felt the feeling on the plant floor that there was no longer this contention between union and management. They felt the camaraderie amongst the employees. They didn't want to hear how or why that happened. They just said to the plant manager, do more of what you're doing. And I think that's marvelous, you know, because sometimes we do want personal acknowledgement. Our ego can slip in there and we want personal acknowledgement that, hey, I've been part of that change. I didn't care. At that point, I honestly didn't care. It's like, that's amazing. The people that I worked with, the leaders that I worked with, steadily were promoted from plant manager to home office, from home office to a global committee that were sent out to other countries where they were starting up new organizations to build these trucks. And the executives that went there, they didn't teach the principles formally, not at all. That wasn't their role. They just lived who they were. They knew how to listen. They respected the best in whoever they met. They saw the best in people and knew how to draw that out. That's why they were promoted. And so they went to places like Brazil and China, Mexico. There were 5 countries that they had new startup plants. And, you know, they would say to me, like, we're really not doing anything, Elsie, but we can see that there's impact. That if we recognize somebody that was in a meeting with me and 30 other employees from that new plant, and I remembered his name, that meant something to him. The fact that I remembered that person's name as we passed each other in the hallway, that they remembered me, that meant something to them. And so there was a rapport, a natural rapport that developed that wasn't put on, that wasn't technique-based. It was seeing. It was seeing-based, you know? Like Sid often would say, there's seeing and then there's seeing. There's hearing and then there's hearing. These gentlemen, these leaders, they were more of the time in the hearing and the seeing, and people responded to that. Not once did they really say, I want to tell you about mind, consciousness, and thought. They might say something about thought. You know, that could come up more naturally. But they lived from mind. They lived from the feeling of mind. Their awareness was a direct correlation to how they saw, you know. So under the radar can be a good thing. It's gentle. It's a gentle kind of transition. And you don't get pushback.